After being married for 6 years, Jack Smith finally agreed to go public with our relationship. However, at the anniversary celebration, he had his assistant attend in my place. The assistant wore my evening gown and acted like the hostess, openly displaying their affection. I smiled and raised my glass to toast, wishing them a lasting love. The assistant blushed and said, "Sister-in-law, please don't be upset. Jack was worried that your appearance on stage would affect the company's image, so he asked me to help out at the last minute." Jack Smith publicly scolded me loudly out of eagerness to protect someone, and in the process, he damaged my precious orchid. Everyone thought I would be heartbroken and cry, or even cause a scene. In reality, I simply calmly took off my wedding ring and turned to leave. From that moment on, no matter what Jack Smith did, I would never look back. I casually tossed the $1 million diamond ring into the trash bin. The banquet was full of guests, and everyone was so quiet that they barely dared to make a sound. Only Lily Johnson was sobbing uncontrollably in Jack Smith's arms. No one continued to argue or apologize to Lily. I lowered my head to look at the mess on the floor. This anniversary party was organized by me personally, and I had been looking forward to it for a full 6 years. For 6 years, I had been very compliant with Jack Smith, giving my all. Except for those close to me, no one knows that I am the legitimate Mrs. Smith. Once, I tolerated and carefully pleased him for the sake of love and Jack Smith's reputation. Now, I no longer want to endure it. Let's get a divorce and let her be Mrs. Smith. This is the first time I have disagreed with Jack Smith. In his eyes, there was a deeper indifference. Just because of a flower pot, you want to divorce me? Emily Brown, what do you think you are? I fell silent. The 6 years of marriage had opened my eyes. In Jack Smith's heart, I am not important. He is no longer the boy he was over a decade ago, the one who gave me orchids when I had nothing and told me that everything would be all right. I didn't want to say much more and grabbed my coat, preparing to leave. My sister-in-law was being too selfish, completely disregarding Jack's feelings. As expected from someone with a small background, she didn't seem generous at all. However, her actions made Jack lose face. The pitiful voice of Lily Johnson only made Jack Smith angrier. Jack was seething with rage, feeling more humiliated in front of everyone than he ever had before. What made him feel embarrassed was actually his wife, whom he had never paid much attention to. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Stop." When he saw that I didn't turn around, he ordered his bodyguard to block my way and angrily asked, "Emily Brown, what gives you the right to speak to me like this? Is it the courage your late nanny gave you?" He slowly walked in front of me, showing a contemptuous smile. Then, she casually grabbed some fresh flowers nearby and threw them at my face. "It was just a pot of flowers, I could compensate you for that. But today, you must apologize to Lily and reflect on your mistakes at the ancestral hall. Otherwise, the thorns of the roses have left small cuts on my face." This time, I didn't cry and admit my faults as I used to. He was slightly taken aback, and his attitude softened as he reached out to help wipe the blood off my face. In my mind, I thought how careless I was. Why didn't I just move away? Calmly, I turned my head aside, raised my bleeding face, and slowly repeated the words that Jack Smith often said, "Otherwise, you shouldn't come back to the Smith family." Every time Jack Smith was in a bad mood, he would say this to me, because he knew that my mother sacrificed herself to save Mrs. Smith. Apart from the Smith family, I had nowhere else to go. Witnessing that incident had a profound impact on me both physically and emotionally. I was afraid of loneliness and afraid of being abandoned. Over the past 6 years, whenever we had a fight, he would always provoke me with hurtful words, driving me to the brink of collapse. When I was crying my heart out, he showed no mercy and kicked me out of the house. Whether it was pouring rain or blazing sun outside, he remained unyielding. Only after I apologized would he let me back in, trying to make up for his hurtful actions with small gestures of kindness. I had truly had enough of these days. I took a taxi to a nearby law firm and printed out a divorce agreement. When I returned with the documents, all the guests had already left, and the mess on the floor had been cleaned up. Only Jack Smith and Lily Johnson were cuddling on the sofa, as if everything that had just happened was forgotten. Jack Smith gently fed her some sobering soup. But I remember one time when Jack Smith's friends forced me to drink, he just coldly stared at me until I was throwing up blood, and he even mocked me. He said, "This is the price you pay for stepping out and showing yourself. Someone useless like you should just stay at home and not embarrass yourself." At that moment, Lily Johnson, who was sitting on the sofa, could see me and smiled triumphantly. I thought you really had some backbone and would never come back, she said. What, Mrs. Smith? To me, you look like a dog belonging to the Smith family. Your owner just gives a call, and you come running right back. In the past, hearing such stinging remarks would stir up emotions in me, but now I was completely indifferent. Seeing that I remained silent, Jack Smith furrowed his brow and unexpectedly interrupted Lily Johnson. Then he said to me, "Forget it, I won't hold this against you this time, but it can't happen again. There won't be a next time." I handed the divorce agreement to Jack Smith. "We are getting a divorce, and I don't want any property from you. I completely sever all ties with you and the Smith family." Jack Smith was taken aback for a moment, then he coldly brushed the divorce agreement out of my hand. "How dare you make demands of me? While I'm still calm, hurry back to your room." His strength was too much. When he struck my injured wrist, the pain made me unable to hold back my tears. The tears fell onto Jack Smith's hand, and he quickly withdrew it as if it had been scalded, looking at me with a complicated expression, and his tone softened a bit. "I understand that today's events upset you, but as Mrs. Smith, you need to consider the bigger picture." He paused for a moment and continued, "I will make it up to you. The day after tomorrow is your birthday, and I will take care of everything. Your anniversary gift is already in your room." I interrupted him impatiently, saying, "The day after tomorrow is Lily Johnson's birthday, not mine. I already celebrated my birthday a week ago, and I know what Jack Smith got her. Not long ago, he and Lily Johnson made the headlines for spending a lot of money at the mall. Every year, the gifts he gives me are almost always things that Lily Johnson doesn't want. These are my least favorite." He irritably ran his fingers through his hair, as if he wanted to say something more. Before he could speak, Lily Johnson on the sofa suddenly called out, "Brother Jack, my stomach hurts." Jack Smith immediately panicked and bumped me aside. I covered my wrist and glanced at the calendar in the living room. It prominently marked the beginning of Princess Lily's menstrual period in bright red. Jack Smith casually picked up Lily Johnson, despite the bloodstains on his clothes. He walked quickly, completely oblivious to the fact that he had trampled on the newly transplanted orchids once again. I took a deep breath and picked up the scattered divorce papers with trembling hands. I thought I could hold it back, but the tears still flowed uncontrollably. Not long ago, I wasn't feeling well, and Jack Smith promised to accompany me to the hospital. On the way, I experienced abdominal pain and started to bleed. To my surprise, Jack Smith complained that I had stained Lily Johnson's pink pillow. "Don't you know I have a cleanliness obsession? It's really frustrating. This is a couple's pillow. If Lily sees it, she will definitely be angry. You can take a taxi to the hospital by yourself. I need to go get my car washed." I was so weak that I couldn't speak, but he still pushed me out of the car. I collapsed on the busy street, and when I woke up, I found that I had lost the baby. I felt guilty and sad about this for a long time, and I couldn't find peace in my heart. It wasn't until Jack Smith decided to hold a grand 6th anniversary celebration to make amends that I started to feel a bit better. However, I never expected that in the end, none of this would truly belong to me, and I wouldn't be able to keep it. It seemed as if fate was urging me to leave sooner. I didn't even get the chance to take a single piece of clothing with me. The Smith family has raised me and provided me with a life of luxury for over a decade, and I have already repaid that debt with 2 lives. The remaining matters are the complex emotions and grievances between Jack Smith and me. Since I can't untangle them, it's best to let go of everything. I rented a small place in the city center and spent the day busy buying some essentials. I had planned to take a few days to rest before looking for a job. In the early morning hours, I was jolted awake by a frantic knocking at the door. "Emily Brown, if you don't open the door, I'll get someone to help." Hearing that familiar voice, I instantly became alert. When I opened the door, a wave of a mixed scent of perfume and alcohol hit me. Jack Smith, as usual, casually collapsed onto the sofa, waiting for me to pour him a glass of honey water. But my small sofa at home couldn't possibly accommodate his height of over 1.8 meters. He seemed somewhat impatient, sitting up straight and squinting as he looked around. "Leaving me here? You live in a place like this? Emily Brown, admit your mistake, and I'll let you go back." I didn't expect Jack Smith to arrive so quickly. At this time, he should have been with Lily Johnson. Moreover, the always proud Jack Smith never wants to come to places like this. I had asked him multiple times to accompany me to my hometown to pay respects to my mother, but he always refused, mocking that the dirt from my home would soil his shoes. I didn't want to engage much with a drunken person, especially since Jack Smith has never been reasonable. I simply took a few steps back to create some distance between us. "You can stay here, I'll find a hotel," I said. At that moment, Jack Smith suddenly stood up and grabbed my hand. "Is this an intentional way to make me stay? Emily Brown, isn't what you're doing just to attract my attention? Lily said you have a lot on your mind and have gone to great lengths to marry into the Smith family, simply because you're worried about your unstable position, so you're trying every means to have a child to secure that status. If that's the case, then I'll help you out. From now on, you can stay in the Smith family and take care of things." After he finished speaking, Jack Smith suddenly tugged at my clothes, his breath reeking of alcohol, which was quite unpleasant. He gripped my wrist tightly, and his strength gradually increased. I felt as if an old injury from many years ago was starting to flare up again. In the silent night, I could even hear the sound of bones rubbing against each other. "Jack Smith, I just had a miscarriage, and the pain in my wrist made it almost impossible for me to speak." Tears and sweat mingled together as I began to tremble uncontrollably. "Emily," Jack Smith's hand hovered in the air. His awareness slowly returned, and he seemed to remember something, looking a bit flustered. "I didn't mean to. I'll take you to the hospital. It's okay. Even if your hand can't be healed, I will take care of you for the rest of my life." Jack Smith said these words 6 years ago. I had just graduated from medical school that year and was planning to leave the Smith family to live independently. Jack Smith said he wanted to accompany me. On our way, we stopped for a meal, but unexpectedly, we got into a car accident. In order to save him, I injured my wrist and can no longer hold a scalpel. Jack Smith proposed to me, promising to spend his life making it up to me. However, just a few years into our marriage, he started to surround himself with a young and beautiful secretary, Lily Johnson, and afterwards he became increasingly dissatisfied with me. I once considered going to work, but Jack Smith rejected my idea without hesitation. He said that the Smith family didn't need me to earn money and that I only needed to focus on my own responsibilities. At the same time, he reminded me not to compare myself to Lily, as she is a smart and independent woman, while I am just the support for the family. When I noticed the red mark on his neck, he added one more thing: "There are some matters you don't need to concern yourself with. What I consider my main responsibility is to iron Jack Smith's suits at first light and prepare 3 meals. Even if he never eats, I must continue to do this every day. He goes out to work and socialize, enjoying life. Meanwhile, I can only sit quietly on the sofa, waiting for him to come home. Even when he returns drunk, carrying traces of ambiguous encounters, I must pretend not to see and make him honey water, taking care of him while he takes a bath. Because I am Mrs. Smith, my life must revolve around Jack Smith. Jack Smith's gifts to me feel like invisible shackles, gradually draining away all my love for him. Therefore, I no longer believe what he said back then. Filled with disgust, I withdrew my hand and trembled as I pointed towards the door, indicating for him to leave. Jack Smith rubbed his temples, struggling to believe what he was hearing. "Emily Brown, do you even realize what you're saying?" The proud Jack Smith would never lower himself to apologize. He came to find me, which indicates that he held me in high regard. However, my repeated rejections made him furious. He suddenly stood up and kicked the table in front of him over. The photo of my mother shattered into pieces. "Emily Brown, what do you think you are? I'll tell you, everyone wants Mrs. Smith's position. I want to see what kind of life you can have after you leave me." Jack Smith slammed the door as he stepped on his mother's portrait. In the past, whenever I accidentally annoyed him, I had to be very careful to admit my mistakes and apologize, and sometimes I even had to accept punishment by kneeling, being grounded, or writing guarantees. I spent a lot of effort trying to soothe his anger, but now, that's no longer necessary. Now I can even choose not to tidy up the mess he left behind. I picked up my mother's portrait again, cleaned it, and took a few painkillers. That night, I didn't have to take care of Jack Smith, and it surprisingly allowed me to get a good night's sleep. When I woke up around noon, I found 2 unexpected messages on my phone. One was from Lily Johnson, sent in the morning, containing a photo of her and Jack Smith lying in a hotel bed, fingers intertwined, with her wearing a diamond ring that sparkled even brighter than my wedding ring. Another message came from Mrs. Smith an hour ago. It was a very simple sentence, but like usual, it carried an irresistible pressure to go to the old house. I blocked both of them and only sent a text to Jack Smith, agreeing to the divorce and suggesting we talk later. The wounds on my face have healed, and I plan to look for a job for myself. During my years at Smith Family, I have been quietly providing online tutoring. Although I can't be a doctor right now, being a teacher isn't bad either. Unfortunately, despite lowering my expectations, I was still rejected by everyone. The only employee who showed me kindness was fired the next day. When I left the company this time, it happened to be raining. I lifted my resume to shield myself from the rain and hurried to the curb to hail a taxi. Suddenly, a Maybach drove by, splashing water all over me and leaving me soaking cold. I shivered and saw the window of the car slowly roll down. Jack Smith looked down at me from inside the car, seemingly questioning whether I had realized my mistake. I didn't say anything, but Lily Johnson, who was in the passenger seat, couldn't help but laugh. She stretched out her hand, adorned with a diamond ring, and tore the charm I had once obtained for Jack Smith from the car, throwing it into the sewage. Some people are truly cursed throughout their lives and simply do not deserve to enjoy good fortune. I've heard that the feng shui of a cemetery can affect future generations. I think it would be better to dig up her mother's ashes so that they would no longer have the right to mention her. Unable to contain my anger any longer, I threw the bag I was holding at Lily Johnson, my emotions spiraling out of control. Jack Smith, your actions do not deserve my love at all. No matter how poor I become in this lifetime, I will never return to the Smith family. If you dare to disturb my mother, I will not let you get away with it. People around us were watching. Jack Smith got out of the car with a grim expression, trying to pick me up and force me into the car. I struggled desperately, but I couldn't break free from his grip. In my desperation, I bit down on his wrist. The taste of blood spread through my mouth. Jack Smith's eyes were filled with anger, but his tone carried a hint of helplessness. Emily Brown, can't you just lower your head for a moment? Stop making a scene and come home with me. His figure almost blocked out more than half of the rain. I looked up at him, with rain and tears streaming down my face. Unless I'm gone. He shuddered slightly, but his grip tightened. Trembling, he opened his mouth and asked, "Why? Haven't we been doing well all these years? Why do you suddenly want to leave me?" I shook my head and smiled bitterly, saying each word clearly. "Because I no longer love you. Because you annoy me." Jack Smith was left stunned. Seizing the opportunity, I broke free and slapped him hard. I fixed him with a piercing glare, having learned the truth from back then. Jack Smith staggered backward, almost falling into a puddle. His eyes darted away, avoiding my gaze. "Emily, I don't understand what you're saying," he continued. "I know you're angry, but as long as you're willing to come home with me, I promise I'll change." After saying this, he turned to Lily Johnson and shouted, "What are you doing just sitting there? Come down, that's Emily's spot." Lily Johnson looked completely incredulous, and her eyes immediately welled up with tears. "Jack, how could you yell at me for her?" But Jack Smith seemed not to hear her and walked to my side, reaching out to take my hand. "Your wrist is injured, so don't use it too much. Also, you just had a miscarriage, and the doctor said you should avoid getting cold, especially in the rain. Emily, would you come home with me? I admit that I did many things wrong in the past, but I also provided you with a good life. Social obligations in business are sometimes unavoidable, and we need to be more understanding of each other." If Jack Smith had been this gentle with me 6 years ago, I would have been deeply touched. Unfortunately, it's too late now. I do not want to accept a love that comes too late. I no longer want this man who is full of lies. I decisively shook off Jack Smith's hand. "You don't need to say all this to me. If you want to be a man, just hurry up and sign the divorce agreement. I know that the eldest son of the Smith family is surrounded by beautiful women and doesn't need someone like me at all. As Mrs. Smith, I have dealt with many women trying to provoke me over the years. Jack Smith won't let me interact with other men, yet he often goes to places of ill repute himself. Every time I bring it up, he always acts impatient. You're just a pet raised by the Smith family. Do you really think you're the mistress?" But after he met Lily Johnson, he seemed to become a different person. He became more disciplined and more refined. I remember once I accidentally saw the conversation history on his phone. He proposed to her back then just for fun, but he didn't expect her to take it seriously. Her identity is quite special, so I can't easily mention divorce, but I assure you that I absolutely won't touch her without your consent. Lily Johnson replied, "With such a beautiful woman lying next to you, can you really resist?" A girl from an ordinary family, no matter how beautiful, will always have some differences in temperament that can't be compared to yours. After that, Jack Smith began to sleep separately from me. I would only be called upon when someone needed my care. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. Over the years at the Smith family, my life had indeed been very humble, even less than that of a dog. Therefore, no matter what, I would never live like this again. The rain kept pouring harder and harder. The autumn rain was cold, and I felt a piercing chill. Emily, I know you're a bit unhappy. Let's talk it over when we get home, okay? Don't let others make fun of us. When I saw Jack Smith walking towards me, I instinctively wanted to avoid his approach. But suddenly, I felt a wave of dizziness, and I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital. Jack Smith was standing by my bedside, and Mrs. Smith was chatting and laughing with Lily Johnson. When they saw me awake, all three of them turned to look at me. Emily, you really had us worried, said Mrs. Smith. You don't take care of your health, and now everyone knows about it. Isn't that embarrassing for the Smith family? The doctor said that after your miscarriage, you have been overly fatigued and caught a cold, which might make it very difficult for you to conceive again in the future. This should serve as a warning for you. Mrs. Smith glanced at Lily Johnson with a single look. The Smith family cannot be without an heir, but considering your mother's situation, I will take it upon myself to register the name of the Smith family's eldest grandson under your name. From now on, you should stay at home, take care of the family, and get along harmoniously with Lily. Jack Smith's face regained its former pride. His slender fingers gently tapped on the table, and an incomprehensible emotion shone in his eyes. After going through so much suffering, do I still not understand? I gently touch my flat abdomen and can't help but recall the days right after I lost my child. During that time, I was constantly frowning and unable to eat or drink. Yet now, I feel surprisingly calm. I am relieved that I did not inherit the same bloodline as Jack Smith. Not being able to have children isn't such a bad thing. It's certainly better than bringing a problem into the world like you. Emily Brown. Jack Smith slammed his hand on the table. Lily Johnson immediately walked over, took his hand, and earnestly began to massage it. Brother Jack, there's no need to argue with someone like her. If she doesn't understand proper behavior, just find someone to teach her the rules. During my years with the Smith family, I've learned a lot of etiquette. Besides the basic manners, the most important thing is how to take care of Jack Smith. Mrs. Smith treats me politely on the surface, but she has never truly respected me. When she brought me into the Smith family, she bragged about their strong sense of loyalty. Jack Smith really proposed to me, but he felt that my background wasn't suitable for the Smith family. After I married him, he dismissed all the nannies and maids, leaving me to handle all the household chores by myself. I had to wash the clothes by hand, prepare 3 meals a day that were not only delicious in taste and appearance but also nutritionally balanced. I had to be available at all times and keep my temper in check. Over time, I sometimes almost forgot who I was and became nothing more than Jack Smith's housekeeper. It was only after leaving Jack Smith that I gradually realized I was truly alive. I looked up at Mrs. Smith. The car accident that once occurred was orchestrated by Jack Smith. He didn't want me to leave the Smith family, so he hurt my hand and ruined my future. I owe you nothing, rather, it is the Smith family that owes me a great deal. I don't seek justice, I only hope that the Smith family will allow me to leave and get a divorce from Jack Smith. Otherwise, I can only laugh at myself. I have nothing left, so what is there to fear? At this point, I really don't care anymore. I also don't want to be buried in the Smith family's graveyard. Jack Smith's expression instantly turned tense. He wanted to argue but couldn't find the right words. Mrs. Smith was silent for a moment, then said to Jack Smith, "What nonsense. To these people, my entire life of happiness is nothing but a joke. How can a casual remark wipe away all my pain?" She initially wanted to continue advising me, but when she saw the determination in my eyes, she ultimately swallowed her words. "Forget it, you can handle your own matters, and I won't get involved anymore." However, Emily Brown, I want to remind you to seriously consider major life decisions. Opportunities only come once. They still think I brought up divorce just to throw a tantrum and get Jack Smith's attention. After Mrs. Smith left, Lily Johnson stopped pretending and started to twist the flowers on the headboard fiercely. "Emily Brown, you really have gone too far. This loud commotion is just to drive me away from Brother Jack." "Stop dreaming. Mrs. Smith and Brother Jack like me more. If it weren't for your shameless attempt to take advantage of the situation to repay a favor, I could have rightfully become Mrs. Smith by now. Let me tell you, even if you were really ill or something happened to you, it wouldn't change my place in Brother Jack's heart. Suddenly, Jack Smith, who had been silent, stood up and pulled Lily Johnson towards the door. He said seriously, "This has nothing to do with us, so stay out of it and leave." Lily Johnson looked completely surprised, and before she could finish speaking, the door to the hospital room closed. Jack Smith sat down in front of my bed again. His throat moved a few times as he slowly spoke. "Emily, don't listen to the wild things Lily Johnson might say. I genuinely like you. I liked you from the very first time I saw you. I remember how you looked that day you came to my house in a white dress, with eyes like a little deer. I fell in love with you in that very moment. I didn't know how to express my feelings. All the people around me have respected me since childhood, but you are different. I know that you truly love me, but I'm not quite sure how to love someone." When I heard Jack Smith's heartfelt confession, I could only smile gently. "Is that so? But I noticed that you have been quite good to Lily Johnson." Jack Smith, who usually doesn't spend much time in the kitchen, surprisingly patiently makes congee for Lily Johnson. Even though Jack Smith is busy and has little time to go home, he still finds time to accompany Lily Johnson for shopping and playing claw machine games. He may outwardly complain about her clumsiness, but he gently smiles while pinching her cheek, telling her that he likes her no matter what. He remembered Lily Johnson's birthday and all her preferences, but he completely forgot that he had a wife. So, it's not that he couldn't love, it's just that he had never given his love to me. Faced with my question, Jack Smith couldn't say a word. He silently lowered his head, and his voice lost the strength it had just moments ago. "Can't you really forgive me just this once?" I responded to Jack Smith with silence. The lower he bowed his head, the more enveloped he seemed in sadness. After a while, he slowly spoke up, asking me to celebrate my upcoming birthday with him. Every year, Jack Smith's birthday is quite a grand affair. I plan to make a cake by hand, decorate the house, and prepare a big feast. However, every year, until the cream on the cake melted, I never waited for him to come home. He would laugh at me and say that all of this was meaningless. Once, he even brought a group of friends home to celebrate and locked me in my room, not allowing me to come out. "Just stay in your room and don't embarrass me, Lily will entertain the guests for me." He told me to come out only after everyone had left, so I could clean up the mess. I really don't understand why Jack Smith, who has always been indifferent to me, pretends to be so affectionate in front of me. "Emily, we agreed that I would have my lawyer prepare a new divorce agreement. As long as you spend this birthday with me, I will sign the divorce." Seemingly worried that I might refuse, Jack Smith hurriedly left right after saying this. His hasty retreat looked rather awkward. After I recovered somewhat, I arranged to be discharged from the hospital. When I opened my phone, I saw that the recent trending topics were all related to Jack Smith. There was news about the lavish birthday party for the young master of the Smith family, and it was reported that he had been secretly married for 6 years, planning to reveal his wife's identity at the birthday celebration. Netizens were buzzing about it, some expressing astonishment at the luxurious lifestyle of the rich, while others were curious about who Mrs. Smith really was. Lily Johnson's name has also made it onto the trending list. Is Lily Johnson really Jack Smith's girlfriend? Jack Smith is famously devoted to her. Could there be someone else? What's going on here? I believe Jack Smith must love his wife very much, as he has protected her well all these years. When I saw this comment, I couldn't help but laugh. For someone like Jack Smith, love is passionate and profound. He always hides his feelings, not out of concern for my well-being, but to save face. He fears that my background might embarrass him. I have already blocked discussions about this topic, as I don't want to waste any more time and energy on Jack Smith. Jack Smith was busy preparing for the banquet and had no time to pay attention to me. I successfully found a position as a lecturer. My supervisor was very appreciative of my educational background and abilities, and had high hopes for me. In order to live up to their trust, I dedicated myself wholeheartedly to my work, to the point that I completely forgot about Jack Smith's birthday. When the phone rang, I was busy working overtime on my lesson plans. "Emily, why didn't you come tonight?" Jack Smith's voice sounded tired. I glanced at the time and casually replied, "I forgot. I waited for you for a long time. It was only a few hours, right? Time flies, and it's been 6 years in the blink of an eye." As I casually scrolled through videos, I happened to come across a recording of a birthday party. The celebration gathered many celebrities, and the luxurious banquet hall was filled with various types of orchids. Jack Smith stood under the spotlight, passionately introducing his childhood sweetheart of a wife, with whom he had been in love for 6 years. However, when the doors opened, the legendary mysterious wife did not appear as everyone had expected. The scene was silent, and Lily Johnson ran away, covering her face and crying. Only Jack Smith stood quietly in place, waiting for that person who would never appear. Whispering began to rise around them. Jack Smith had always been concerned about his reputation, but this time he seemed completely indifferent. It wasn't until all the guests had left and the lights went out that he continued to stand there, still waiting. I smiled and asked him, "Jack Smith, do you think you're being particularly sentimental? Where have you been all this time?" Jack Smith didn't say anything else and quietly hung up the phone. I packed up my things, went home, took a shower, and went to bed, just like usual. But in the early morning, I was awakened by a sudden flurry of phone calls. On the other end of the phone, someone said, "Sister-in-law, hurry up. Jack is in trouble." I rubbed my eyes and impatiently replied, "What does that have to do with me?" There was a moment of silence on the other end, and then they asked, "Aren't you worried?" I simply hung up the phone and turned it off. What's there to worry about? This isn't the first time Jack Smith has tried to deceive me. The most unforgettable experience happened one early morning when I received a call from Jack Smith's friend. They said that Jack Smith had gotten into an argument with someone on the mountain and had been injured. It was late at night, and not wanting to disturb anyone, I quickly threw on a coat and set out. I was in such a hurry that I ended up losing one of my shoes, and my foot got scraped and started to bleed. By the time I arrived, drenched in sweat, what greeted me was a spilled glass of wine. Lily Johnson collapsed in Jack Smith's arms, laughing joyfully. "Brother Jack, you were right, she really is someone who's always there when needed." Jack Smith threw a stack of cash in front of me. "Thank you for letting me win this bet, now hurry up and leave." Laughter erupted around us. The alcohol had made my eyes hurt intensely. I endured the humiliation, picking up bills one by one and stumbling down the mountain. From that moment on, I realized that Jack Smith was not worth my love anymore. At that time, I felt that Jack Smith's departure was just what I needed to free myself from all entanglements. The next day, as I changed clothes and prepared to go to work, I opened the door and saw Jack Smith squatting at the entrance. He had an accident last night, and it seems he was quite seriously injured. He was covered in dirt, and his head was wrapped in a thick bandage. The old him would never have allowed himself to appear like this in front of others. But now, he looks as pitiful as an injured puppy. "Emily, last night I truly thought I would never see you again. At the moment of the car crash, I finally understood how scared you must have been back then. I realized that I had made a mistake." I glanced at the time and urged, "Please finish up quickly, I can't be late for work." He wanted to come closer to me, but upon seeing his blood-stained hands, he withdrew and asked pitifully, "Can you stay and talk with me a little longer?" I furrowed my brows and chose to walk past him. Jack Smith suddenly panicked and shouted, "Emily, I promise, I agree to the divorce." After saying this, he prepared to leave and took out the already prepared divorce agreement. I reluctantly let him in. My unfinished breakfast was still on the table. He acted casually, grabbing the food and started eating it hungrily. As he ate, I couldn't help but shed tears. "The meal you prepared is still the best." I lowered my head to send a message to my boss to request a leave of absence, ignoring what Jack Smith had said. "Emily, I'm sorry for you. My feelings for you are genuine, but I have also hurt you. I don't know why, but I always feel inferior in front of you. You are smart, hardworking, and outstanding, while I seem to have nothing except for my identity as the eldest son of the Smith family. Are you really going to hurt me like this?" Jack Smith quickly shook his head. "No, I don't want to hurt you. I just don't know how to handle this situation." During class, I noticed that some boys tend to bully a girl more the more they like her. In the end, they make her cry but are left clueless about what to do next. Some people may think this is love, but I feel that it is actually bullying disguised as love. Meanwhile, Jack Smith, sitting next to me, didn't notice my emotions and kept rambling on. At first, he got together with Lily just to make me jealous, but then he accidentally crossed the line. However, no matter what, I never truly considered breaking up with you, and I never thought that one day you would leave me. This realization hit me hard. Jack Smith is not just bad, he is both foolish and malicious. He has grown accustomed to my kindness and my care. He thinks that by hurting me, I will unconditionally stay by his side, allowing him to treat my feelings and dignity as he pleases. But he forgets that I am also a flesh and blood person. Those who betray genuine feelings will eventually feel regret. Jack Smith's voice trembled with emotion, making it impossible for him to continue speaking. He collapsed onto the table, sobbing uncontrollably. He had enjoyed a glorious life for 2 to 3 decades, everything had gone smoothly, and he had been proud his entire life. Yet, in the end, he found himself losing face right in front of me. It was truly absurd and ridiculous. I took the divorce agreement, glanced it over quickly, and then signed my name. Jack Smith left me quite a bit of property, but he fell seriously ill. I heard that Mrs. Smith was very upset and kept begging me to help her son. I did not agree. Instead, I donated all the property. For the rest of my life, I do not want to have any relationship with Jack Smith or the Smith family. After everything was over, I applied to teach abroad. At the moment the plane took off, everything from the past was carried away by the wind. I was about to embark on a brand new life that belonged entirely to me.